everybody! Yay! I think we're live. At least it says we're live on Facebook. I'm Julianne Eason from Thanet House Publishing and InspireEducateSell.com. And I'm with one of my favorite people in the whole wide world, Russel Brunson. Woo!
Hey, how's it going?
Russell is, if you don't know who he is the founder, co-founder. What do you like? You're co-founder, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, co-founder of Clickfunnels, which is the most awesome software in the entire world. And he's the author of both of these books.
Two books.
Two books. And what you may not know about me is I was the ghostwriter for both of those books, and I helped Russell get his message out of his brain and onto the page. So I thought it would be really, really fun to like dish on all the secrets and the crap that went on behind the scenes.
I know. First off, I want to apologize for how the whole both books went down. They probably were. I don't know how all your projects are, but I'm sure I'm the most high maintenance person you've ever worked with.
No. Believe me, I've had worse.
I'm like, hey, Judy, you wrote a whole book. I just deleted it last night. We're gonna start over. You're like,
oh no, we're totally gonna talk about that. But that's like. I got that planned for later on. I want to start first with the first book. So the first book was Dotcom Secrets. This one, right?
There it is.
The book's the wrong way. So I want to know, like, first off, why the hell did you want to write a book in the first place? Like, what was your goal and what went on in your mind when you said, I need to write a book?
Yes. So, so I initially bought the domain name Dotcom Secrets, like, 10 years ago, and I was like, that's going to be my book. And I remember I actually had the cover design 10 years ago, and it looked horrible. And I had it done like 4 or 5 times, and I was like, I can't write a book unless the cover was cool. I never had a good cover. And then, so it was always in the back of my mind, I thought it'd be cool to have a book, but I never had a book. And then fast forward like 8 years later, I was actually, I don't know if you even know the story. I was, my buddy and I, we sent our wives to go out on a date so they could like get away from the kids, and we were going to be the men and like take the kids out to dinner. So we went to Carl's Jr. because they have a playground. And my kids were playing on this playground, and he was sitting there talking to me, and he was like, you know the difference between you and like Tony Robbins and Brandon Bouchard? And I'm like, what? He's like, I think your content's better than theirs, but they seem more legit because they have a book. And I was like, oh. I was so mad. And I'm like, well, I started a book like 20 times, and I have a table of contents kind of, but like that night, I knew he was right, and I was like, "Dang it, I got to write a book." And so that, in fact, you should go back and find your emails because that is the night that I emailed you, and I didn't know you at the time.
Oh, really?
I just knew that, like, I knew that I tried for 8 or 9 years to write a book, and I was like, I need someone to help me with this, to help move this forward, and I need to spend some money because if I'm a big believer, like, if you write a check, then you're more likely to get something done. Right. And so I posted, I can't remember what forum, it was Warrior Forum or Facebook group or somewhere about if anyone knew any good writers to help me to write a book. And one of the people recommended you, and I went to your site, and for some reason, just kind of connected with you and messaged you. And then the next morning, we were on the phone, and you were pitching me hard, and you closed me. I was like,
I was not pitching.
You did such a good job. No, I was like, I love being sold, and like I got off, and I was like, yeah, she sold me. I feel good about this. And then we started the process, and it was not a short process. Like we went through and. You know, and we talked about this the entire process. Like, I didn't want to write a good book. Like, I wanted to write a great book. And so it was a lot of back and forth and writing and rewriting and writing and rewriting. And then we, like, just delete the whole thing and, like, let's do an event. And I mean,
yeah, so that's what they don't know. So, like, guys, listen to this. So like, he's like, okay, so this is going to be easy. This is what we're going to do. I'm going to send you all the webinars I've ever done, and then you write a book about it. I was like, okay, cool, we'll do it that way. And I did, and we did. And I was writing all this stuff, and I'd be like, all right, Russell, what the heck does this mean? You know, I'm not sure. You've said this 4 different times and all this stuff. And he's like, okay, never mind. This is what we're going to do. We're going to have an event. You need to fly to Boise. Boise. I've never been to. Is Boise a place in the U.S.? Like, what the heck?
What country do you live in?
So that I did. I went to, and you put an entire event. There must have been 300-400 people there.
Yeah, it was cool because like. One nice thing about an event, because I think the first version of the book was good, but it was like all over the place, and like I had an outline, but I felt bad for you because I'm dumping stuff, and you're like, this kind of fits together, but not really. And like, in my head, it makes sense, but so like literally, like I think it was 6 weeks later, I'm like, okay, when you're an event, here's your ticket, you're flying out here, and then I was like, called everybody in my coaching programs, like, we're doing an event, come out, and it was a 3-day event, but it was cool because it forced me to sit down and like think through everything and like create an outline and create a process, create slides, and then like I stood on stage and taught it for 3 days. But then it was cool. This was like the coolest part, because after it was done, like for me, like when I'm teaching stuff on stage in front of a whole bunch of people, you realize like when things don't chronologically make sense, because it's like, oh,
wait, I should have said that other thing.
Yeah. And so it was cool. Remember, the 3-day event ended, and you stayed another day. We sat down in my office at the time, and we had all the PowerPoints, and we're like, okay, this is gonna go here, and this is gonna go here, and we're gonna change it, and we really mapped out the whole process of here's what the book's gonna be. And I think it was probably the third time we kind of structured it all.
I almost missed my flight. Remember that?
Oh yeah.
I almost missed my plane because we were so excited about this book. We're like, oh no, this is gonna be awesome, and then we can do this other thing. And I'm like, crap, I got 20 minutes to get. He's like,
I totally forgot about that. That would have been really bad. So sorry.
I'd have to stay in Boise at the time.
Oh, but anyway, it was cool because then you left and you had plus we had the event recording, so we had that, and then it was like you were able to go through and make the next draft, which was like super close, and it was like and then as we went back and forth the next 3 or 4 months, where like I'd take the chapter and I'd go back and do my edit, and you go back and you edit, and back and forth, and we get like it totally ripped your voice out, so like you had to like rewrite it back in, and I was so paranoid about every word. So like I know some people like. Again, this goes back to, I know the big theme of this is like writing a good book. I know some people will hire someone, they write a book and then they publish it. And I've had friends that are like, I never actually read my book. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like every word in that book, I was like, do I like that word? Is that the right word? Like, I mean, even though I had you helping the entire time, like that was probably the hardest project I've ever done, which is why I was like,
your voice and your message are so important because I mean, and so I want to talk about what happened. So when we finally got this book done and it was out in the world and you put all this energy and effort and time and money and everything into launching it, like what happened? What was the return? What was the payback for you?
World domination? No,
world domination. Clearly you didn't, because you had to write a second one.
Yeah. It was cool because we had launched Clickfunnels before the book was published. And at first, the first 5 or 6 launches didn't do very well and kept changing the funnel, but then like it did, but it was still like, there was like this learning gap for people. And I think we launched Clickfunnels, it was like at the end of summer. And I think we launched the book in February or March, if I remember right. So it was 5 or 6 months between there. And then we launched the book, and I think we did 20,000 copies the first month. But what's cool is that the people that got those books, it was like the blueprint. It was like, it has become like the Bible, like here's funnel structures and why and how, and so like people would read it and then like, oh, that's why that Clickfunnels thing is so exciting. Russell's like jumping around talking about it every single day, and like they had this framework. It was like the manual almost to like why this thing was so important, and it became that, and what's cool is that over the next 2 years we sold. I think we passed 100,000 copies now. Of client messaged me when he first read the book, and he had to pay us $100,000 to fly out of his office for 2 days to like explain to his staff what he read out in the book, which was cool. So like, that came fast, and then like all these other things and press started coming, but the tangible for me was Clickfunnels. I saw this startup that we had. It became like the fuel and the education behind that got it to really grow at the point that it is today. And so it was hugely, super important. I wish I would have written a book. Well, I'm glad I didn't write it earlier because I don't think I was ready for it. But I'm glad I did, because it's become such a catalyst for everything we're doing now.
Yeah. So when I tell people that I help them write books that inspire, educate, and sell, and I ghostwrite for you, but I don't ghostwrite for everybody. Some people I teach. It's all about like, what is it that your goal is, and then how can you reverse engineer a book that's going to help educate people to lead them into that? Because I remember, we thought we were done with that book, and then you're like, man, Clickfunnels isn't taking off like we thought. There's something missing. Hang on just a second. When I figure that out, we'll put it in the book.
Yeah.
I love that you can do that with a book.
And I love your inspire, educate, and sell for a couple reasons. But like one of it is like, because you think about like at least in my world, most of our marketing books are one of those 3 things. They're super inspirational when you read it. You're like, yay! I don't know what to do, but I'm all happy. And then there's like the other, which is like education, which is like these boring textbooks. You're just like, are you kidding me? Kill me, please. And then there's ones that all they do is sell. Like you read the thing, it's 300-page sales letter. And you're like, wow, I feel duped. And and I think the blending of those 3 things is cool, because if you read my books, like I'm proud. Like we have tons of stories in there that make you like inspire you, right? But then there's the education, like here's the process and the scripts and how it actually works. But there's a purpose. Like to actually do these things now. Like, you need Clickfunnels, you need this tool over here. But it wasn't in this cheat. It's like, where it's not like every single page is this thing. It's like, no, like, this is the tool that makes the thing happen. And if you actually read the book, you'll realize that you need it. But it wasn't just like a 300-page sales letter either, which is kind of, too many people I know in my market, at least, that do that, and it just feels dirty. So
yeah, it does. And it's, and the other thing is that, I mean, this book is what, 3 years old now?
Yeah, I think so.
So when you take the time, I mean, you are a great writer. Like, you're already a good writer, and you already know how to sell things, and you already know how to write to sell. And you could have taken any one of your webinars, done a transcript, uploaded it to Amazon, called it a book, become a bestseller. Ta-da! Woohoo! Like, who cares, right?
Yeah.
My whole deal is, like, if you're going to write a book, do it right. Take the time to do it right. So I love the fact that when you do that, like, this book is a Bible in the digital marketing industry. It is a book that is studied and read and underlined and bookmarked. I wrote the damn thing, and I still look at it like at least once a week. I'm like, wait, I remember there was a thing about this in Dotcom Secrets. I got to remember it. And so, you know, when you're going to do it right, it's going to be something that is useful for you and your business and other people, like, forever. I mean, in 10, 15 years, people are still going to be reading this book.
Exactly. I want it to be a classic. You know, I look at the best marketing books I still study are the old classics, right? The Robert Collier letter book, like Scientific Advertising. Like,
yeah.
I remember writing this. I was like, you know, it's funny because, like, I'm sure you remember, like, when we launched, I was so scared that how people were going to react. I was like, I wanted to just create something that's like that. When I'm dead, I want people to be like, oh yeah, I remember Russell, like, in Dotcom Secrets, and like, I want that. I want to create something that lasts longer than me, which is, you know, why we did the whole thing. And but I had so much fear. I remember one of my friends, Rich Sheffrin, right before we launched it, and he's read like a million marketing books, and like someone who I had a ton of respect for. And I remember that I was at a traffic conversion. I think I brought like 4 or 5 copies of the book. You got one, a couple of people like 2 copies.
I had to fight for one.
Yeah.
Here's my copy. Come on.
And
no,
it's funny,
you already read it. I got to give it to somebody that matters.
like, you've read this multiple, yeah. It's funny because, like, I saw Sheffrin there, and he was like, everyone keeps talking about his books. I'd sent a couple copies prior, and he's like, I want to read it on the flight home. And I had so much fear because I was like, if he reads this and like doesn't like it, like, I'm gonna be destroyed. I remember I gave it to him, and then when he landed on the plane, he messaged me. He's like, dude, this is good. This is really good. And I was like, oh my gosh, like,
they like it.
I was freaking out. Yeah, and then people start going crazy, and it's just been so cool. Whereas, like, I see the people who've written books, and it goes out there, and people are like, oh yeah, thanks for your book. And I didn't want that. I wanted the people who were like, oh my gosh, like, this is awesome. And so
I have to tell everybody. You kept texting me like so I would get these little things from Russell. Look at this one. This guy loved this one. Look, this is from so and so. Oh my God, they really like the book. I'm like, of course they do, dude. This is an awesome book.
I know, I was like a little excited.
All right, so you swore to me. You said, okay, this has been great. I'm never doing this again, ever again. I'm so glad that's over. And what was it, like 2 months? We were like, so
longer than that. No, it's funny because, yeah, I swore I never read a book. There's so much pain associated, but I think it's kind of giving birth where eventually you forget about the pain.
Special hormones.
Oh, he's so cute. Oh, yeah. But no, it's funny because I swore, my whole team, I told them to never write a book again. And it was funny. It was probably a year and a half later. I was at this event, and before the event started, I was at this dinner. I don't know if you knew that. I don't know if you may know the story, but I'm sitting there, and across the table from me was this guy named Dean Graciosi, who Dean is like, I don't think anyone's ever sold more books through infomercials than him. Like, he's been on TV for the last 20 years selling real estate books. And I'm sitting here, and I'm talking to him, and I'm trying to figure out, like, what's the next phase for Clickfunnels, right? Like, it's growing well, but I was like, how do I, outside of the market that understands marketing and sales, like, how do I break out to, like, the world? And I was trying to think of a bunch of things. I'm sitting there talking to him, and I don't remember what we're talking about. All I know is I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden, like, I don't know, I think it's revelation, whatever you want to call it. I had this, like, thought where I was like, I need to write a book. And I was like, the book's going to be called Expert Secrets. And somehow Dean's going to do an infomercial for it. And I was like, what? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, I don't even know this guy, but I was just like, okay. And I'm a big believer, like, when you hear something like that, like, you do it. And so that night, I came back in the hotel room, and Dave Woodward was there. I was like, Dave, we're writing a book. He's like, you said you're writing a book? And I'm like, no, we are. It's called Expert Secrets, and Dean's going to do an infomercial. He's like, Dean's doing an infomercial? I'm like, well, he doesn't know it yet, but he's going to. And so, like, that night, I boxed you. I was like, Julie, round 2, we're doing a book. It's called Expert Secrets.
Like, yes, awesome.
I'm wiring you some money. We're starting the process over again. And I'm like, by the way, like, you still do this for people, right? Like, you're like, not really, but I'll do it for you again. I'm like, sweet. And that started the process. And this is interesting, like, roundabout. So this morning, can I tell you what happened this morning?
Yes.
This morning, I texted Dean Graciosi, and I said, hey, man, hope you're doing awesome. Sorry I missed this meeting we're supposed to be at. And I said, I want to touch base, see if you'd still be interested and willing to help me with an infomercial. I said, we sold 70,000 copies of The Expert Secrets so far, and I'm really interested in taking the next level. And he wrote back, he said, yes and yes. So we are starting the process as of today, working on the infomercial for the Expert Secrets book. So it's just crazy, anyway, crazy.
All right, so this is Expert Secrets. If you guys are watching this now and you have no idea what book we're talking about, it's this one. It's book 2, but it's not book 2, right? Like, it's a standalone. If you want to be an expert, I think you need both of them, but you don't have to read one first and then one the other.
Yeah, it kind of depends where you're at in your business. Like, some people said this is like the prequel for them. Some people said it's the sequel. And yeah, it just, in fact, kind of jump ahead of myself. I have a big, huge board printed out, so it's fun to show. So here's the board. I don't know if you guys can see the whole thing. But I did this thing with my inner circle members. I was like, how do you go from 0 to $1 million a year, million to 10, and 10 to 100? And if you look at that, I was like, 0 to $1 million is all about Expert Secrets. In fact, this is a little graph right here from the book. And then from 0, or from 7 figures to 8 is all like the Dotcom Secrets principle. And then 8 to 9 over here, I can't see it very well.
Full traffic.
It may not be book number 3 coming soon. We'll find out. Anyway, it's crazy. Sorry.
All right, so what happened? We started writing this book. And I'm like, all right, this is cool. We got this down now. He knows the process. He knows what he's supposed to do. Everything will be cool, right? So we write the whole book. And I sent it to you. And I didn't hear from you for months. And I kept going, Russell, are you there? I know you're really busy. You're in Africa, right? So, like, is everything... Because here's what happens from a ghostwriter's perspective. We're like, shit, he hates the book and he doesn't want to say anything. Don't spit your water.
I know, well, first of all, it was a super busy time. I remember getting it, and I was like, and then I finally started kind of digging into it, and I was like, I don't know, like, it was good. And, like, most people, I think, and you've usually on the transcript, but, like, it's good. But I was like, I had so much fear, because I was like, I remember mentioning, like, I need this book to be better than the last one. And you're like, it is, I promise. And I'm like, I know, but, like, and so, like, I read it, and I had someone else read it, and I was just like, this is good. But I was like, and I don't know how to make it great. I don't know, but I was like, there's something that's, like, I think it was honestly, I think that almost like I jumped into it too quickly. I don't think we had the right foundation. And I felt bad. I felt guilty, and I was like, I don't know what to do. And so I was on family vacation almost a year ago, actually, because I'm heading on vacation next month. Again, and I was sitting there late night because I was like, I need to get this done. So I was sitting there and I'm reading through the book, and I'm just like, had this like weird sick feeling where I was just like, this isn't like the message, like where I'm taking people is not the right direction. And I was like, I don't know how to fix this other than to start over, but Julie's going to kill me and this is going to be bad. So like I highlighted the whole entire book, and then I like opened up Snapchat, and live on Snapchat, I deleted it. Because like I have to make this like a public thing, or else I will all.
You messaged me first, because I think you were worried that I would see that I'm not on Snapchat, so I'm like, thank God I didn't see it, because I would have like, what are you doing?
But yeah, so I just deleted the whole thing, and then I was like, but I didn't know what to go from there, because I was like, I don't know the answer. I just knew that I think I asked the wrong questions when we started the process, and so. I think the next month I was supposed to fly to Kenya on this trip, and then I had this event happening the week. Like I got home from Kenya like on a Monday, and that Thursday was another event happening, and the event was supposed to be something completely unrelated to what it ended up being. Because I messaged you, I'm like, do you want to come to this event? Maybe I'm going to try to read it there, and you're like, you couldn't come for some reason, and so anyway, I'm flying to Kenya, and I'm trying to figure out like what's the framework that this whole book is built upon. And I was like, I don't know. And I brought all these. My wife always makes fun of me. She's like, we're in the middle of Kenya. There's no electricity, and I had like 40 books in my backpack, and I'm like hauling this stuff around, and I'm like carrying. Like they want to take my bag to the camp. I'm like, no, I need these books with me because I'm trying to figure out like this stuff. And so I'm in this little like rickshaw thing driving for like 4 or 5 hours, and everyone's passed out in the car except for me. And I had like this first book I'm reading about starting cults, and this other one about mass influence, and I'm reading book after like all these books, and I'm highlighting stuff. And it was this really cool experience. I'm sitting here in this thing, and as I'm going through all these different things, like, I don't know if anyone's ever gone through like a time of immersion where you're immersing yourself. Like, it's cool because you start seeing connections of stuff you didn't see earlier. And as I'm driving in this little car, I remember this 4-hour drive, I was getting sick because like I was looking down, reading books, and like highlighting my pen. I should find the original books. And like I'm trying to highlight, and I go over a bump, and it's like, like it's all messed up. But as I'm doing this, I'm going through all this stuff. All of a sudden, I start seeing this pattern, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like this is the pattern about how every mass movement's ever been created. And I'm looking at this pattern, and then I'm like, is that real? So the rest of the week in Kenya, I'm going through book after book and thing after thing. I'm all these marketers on this Kenya thing with us. I'm asking all these guys questions and how people are doing it in the market in Brazil versus the market here in America, and like all these people and like this thing keeps becoming more and more solid in my mind. Or also I'm like, this is the foundation. I was like, if people understand this, like everything else will work from it. So that became the foundation. And then my flight home, we happened to get stuck on like 5 or 6 layovers. And so it was a 36-hour flight home, which my wife was miserable.
You know, what, 5 kids or something with 4 kids?
Yeah, it was horrible. We had to call our babysitters, like, can you stay another day? And yeah, it was tough. It was 36 hours, but it was cool. For 36 hours, like I'm sitting here, like now building the framework because I had an event happening 5 days later, which ended up being 4 days later. So like I'm like building the PowerPoints for this event while I'm trying to figure out the framework, and it was like this. Oh, it was such a cool time. And so we get home to Boise. I'm finishing paper, PowerPoints for this presentation, and then this event starts. Everyone shows up, and I'm like, "Hey, I remember how the event was supposed to be about this topic? We're totally going in this direction. So sorry, but this is what I'm excited about today. So here we go." And I started with like, here's the foundation, which when you read the book, it's the intro section, like how do you start a mass movement. I taught that, and then we started going deeper, and I started showing and like it was insane. So for the next 3 days, I taught this thing, and I was like, and then the same thing happened the first time. I was like, okay, now I knew what I taught wrong, and there were parts I thought were really simple that as I'm teaching in a group, I remember there was this one concept in the big domino. I was like, here it is, like boom, and I'm trying to move on. Everyone's like, wait, I don't understand. And
what the heck are you talking about?
Yeah, it started like as a 10-minute section in my presentation that ended up being 3 hours long. But at the end of 3 hours, we came up with like this foundation of what it meant. And then anyway, it was awesome. So 3 days were done, and I'm messaging you like, okay, I had the foundation for the book. I know the direction, I know all this stuff. And then we started the process over again. And that was, when was that, August?
Yeah.
And I was like, we're going to launch this in November. And you're like, I don't think that's possible. I'm like, it has to be possible. And so, yeah, so thankful for you. Like you killed yourself for the next, 4 or 5 months. And it turned out like so good, like so amazing. So, and I know like, it was hard for me and for you. It's so much time going back and forth and back and forth. And you write, I'd rewrite, and you'd rewrite. And it was tough, but like, from the final manuscript before we got the editing part was just like, this is better than your first book. And I was like, oh my gosh, like that's what I wanted. I
totally agree with that. Yes, absolutely.
And then they started sending people reading it. The same thing, like Jim Edwards, I remember he read it and he said, this is better than your first book. I was like, yes, like that's what I want. Like, I was like, okay, we did it. I was like, anyway, so excited. And then, yeah, so that's kind of.
So from my perspective, what changed? What changed from that first draft that you deleted to the second one? And I hope anybody here who's listening is listening to this, because this is a lesson here. The first, so when you wrote that first book, your goal was to help people understand funnels. Like it wasn't even about Clickfunnels, because that was just a separate project. You just wanted to get this message, all the stuff that you had learned that was stored in your heart. You got it out on the page, right? The second book, you were like, you dove into it really quickly, and I think it was you were trying to tie it into ClickFunnels again. Mm-hmm. And it was all up here, and it was like, okay, I know all these things, and we're going to repeat the funnels. And I think the feedback you got was that there was a lot of it was very similar to the other book, and you were just sort of saying it in a different way. And even though the content was awesome, and it was selling it on eBay to say, I still have the files, but it wasn't. You were coming from a different place, and as soon as you went away and you decided it wasn't right, and you went into your heart, and it was like, and you were thinking about the people, because I know you had people in the inner circle testing out the ideas, and you were asking people, and you were like, and how is this working for you? Like, and they're not afraid to say, no, this is just not working. What the heck is going on, right? So when you went into your heart and you took the time to let it meld, like everything, ideas have to coalesce. They have to, and then they bubble up rather than thinking about it and going down. It's a totally different place that you're coming from, and it makes a completely different book. If you want to make a book, or you want to write a book that has impact for or that actually sells tens of millions of dollars of software now. Like, you have to really care about the customer and what the heck you're trying to teach them. And you have to make sure that what you're doing is true and real and comes from your heart and actually, is genuine, rather than, oh, I need to sell this thing, so let me just overcome some objections and throw it up on Amazon.
Yeah.
So that's what I saw as the difference. And the fact that you're willing to take the time, people nowadays, especially marketers, oh my God, like I want to write a book in a weekend. I want to upload my last webinar and it'll be a bestseller. Because it's not hard to be a bestseller, honestly.
Yeah.
But it is hard to make an impact on people. That is huge.
And that's the key, because that's what people remember later. And
right.
That's the legacy stuff, which matters. And like you said, and I got so many friends that do the bestseller thing, and it's good, but like being bestseller is good, but like what's better is like actually transforming people, and we have that. Like that's the key. That's what's exciting, and I think it's interesting because I think I was so excited about selling the book that was the focus, is get this out. Which the second time it was like, what is, like if I was teaching this to my mom or someone that like what would be the process and how would it work and what would I do just to give them exactly what they need. So anyway.
That's why it's a universal book. Like, this is not a book for marketers. This is a book for anybody who knows how to do anything and wants to teach it to other people and get paid for it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be your mom or I know you're doing it with your dad, right? So it actually is something that you're thinking about the people first.
Yeah.
And then you're reverse engineering. And that's how I teach. So I've formulated what I teach into what I call the Inspire, Educate, Sell writing method, which is all about who's your target audience, what do you want them to do, and what questions do they have, and reverse engineering the book from the people and going from the outside and coming in and like, what do I know that I can help them achieve this goal, rather than what do I know that I want to talk about?
Yeah.
Which is where you came from. Honestly, from the first version of Expert Secrets, I think that's where you're coming from. It's like, oh, I know all this stuff. What else can I teach them?
Next time, if we ever write a book again, yell at me if I start that way. That'll save us both some time.
Yeah, right. No, I've actually written 4 books for Russell, though,
2 of them are by the wayside, now disappeared.
Oh my gosh. All right. So what's happened since Expert Secrets has been out for about a month and a half? 6 months?
Let's see. Our launch day was 18th. So
what's the feedback and the results you're getting so far from that?
So just shy of 2 months. So it's been insane. We've sold, I think we were over 70,000 copies of the book, which is nuts. Like,
nobody does that every day, guys. Like, nobody does that.
Oh yeah, I was laughing. Like, someone's like, "Did you get New York Times list?" I'm like, "No, but we like 10x their sales, because like you get New York Times list, you just like 10,000 sales." I'm like, "Well,
if they like you."
Yeah, we destroyed that. They just don't like us, but who cares? Like, for me, it's not about the first one. I wanted to hit New York Times is a big status thing for me, and now it's like I don't really care as much. Like, this isn't about me. This is about the people it's going to help, and that was the goal. So. Yeah, we sold a lot of them, and we're continuing to. And I have a goal to sell 1 million. I don't know if you've seen that, RussellBrunson.com.
Love it.
We're documenting the journey to sell millions. So it's like a lot of people, they write a book and they sell 100 copies, and then it's like done. And I'm like, no, like I want to sell 1 million copies. Like I want to change the world. So the only way to do that is to get this thing in people's hands. And so we're gonna keep testing the boundaries. And it's gonna take me a couple of years to do it, but it's a fun journey. But no, the feedback's been amazing, and it's been super cool watching the successes that are flying through. People that are like, like have done webinars in the past, they tried to sell things in the past, or they, whatever, and like they're shifting to like storytelling. They're understanding like new opportunities versus improvement. Like there's so many amazing things that came out of that book. They're just like, even for me, it's cool because it's like stuff a lot of times that we intuitively did but didn't know why, and as we dig deep, it's like, wow, that's why these things work. That's why these ones are successful, these ones fail. And like now that we know that, like it's funny, we working on a big project and hired these guys that are amazing. We paid them insane amounts of money to write this script for us. And the first script came back awesome. They wrote this other script for us, and like I was like, something was wrong, but I can't tell what's wrong. And I'm thinking. All of a sudden, I was like, chapter 3 of the book, like this is an improvement offer, not a new opportunity. And I was like, this will fail. And we stopped everything. And I called them up. And like, this will fail because of this reason. And they were like, oh my gosh, you're right. And it's just funny because even like, like it's become like, as soon as you're aware of the pattern and understand why it works, and then you can manipulate and you can do things based on the pattern. But now like the book is so cool because it's showing all these patterns that, again, I didn't even know for the first decade, but now we're aware of them. Like we're able to amplify these things like crazy, and it's really exciting.
Yeah, I've never seen any of this stuff anywhere else, and I've been in marketing I've been a copywriter for 30 years, so I studied all this stuff, and it's like, people will come to me and they're like, I need to write a book, and hire me to be a ghostwriter, and I'm like, okay, cool, and it's the same old stuff. It's like email marketing and what to put in the subject line, just stuff that we all know, but this is a game changer. It's completely different, and it's stuff that you've never heard before. So we're over time here. Where do we go get Expert Secrets?
Yeah, we have too much fun. ExpertSecrets.com. We have the free plus shipping promotion, so you guys can get it there for sure. And I hope that you guys, like, I know I have tons of books I buy, and they sit there like it's worth reading this book. Like, to get out of it what we put into it, like, you'd have to read 30 or 40 books to get a glimpse of what we're trying to share here. Like, it's like every page is. I've had people who are like, I tried to like just skim through, but it's like, God, like everything, and it all builds upon each other. It's like we spent a lot of time and energy and money and effort to do it, and it's worth spending the time to read. I promise you that. If not, let me know and I'll give you your money back. But it's worth the investment of time for sure.
And once you read it once, you're going to want to read it again and again, and you'll like start underlining.
Yeah.
All those things. So what would you say, one last thing, what would you say to people who are thinking about writing a book, or they've been trying to write a book for a while? What's the best way to get it done?
The best way is doing it. Like, that's like, for me, like, I thought about it forever. It wasn't until like somebody called me out on it that I was like, okay, I need to do it. And for me, and not that I'm trying to pitch you or your service or anything, but like, I wrote you a check. Like, writing a check, there's something about like that financial commitment of like, okay, now there's money online, now I'm actually going to do it. So like, they should give you money for something. Like, anyway, you didn't tell me to say that, but like, they should. Like, that's the first step, because then it's like, now this is a real thing that I need to go and actually do. And then number two, like you said, is like, if I do a book again, I'll spend a lot more homework up front, really thinking through. I might probably do an event first, just things like that, to like, or teach it live or something just first with it to flesh out those ideas, because it's painful twice to go down a 6 or 7 month rabbit hole and then come back and then start over again. And so I think I will spend more time up front on the researching and teaching it and like getting it right first. But then even with that, like, be okay with deleting stuff and starting over. I was listening to during the Dotcom Secrets book, I know there was 3 or 4 chapters that were in the first book that were there. They were good, but like, they just kind of weren't there. I remember listening to an interview with Neil Strauss and Tim Ferriss, and they talked about how they'll write like a 2,000 page book and then they'll delete like 1,500 pages. Yep. And I was like, it's okay for me to pull some of this stuff out. Like, sometimes more is not always the best thing. And we deleted, I think, 3 chapters and pulled them out. And I was like, this book is better because those things aren't in there now. And it's like, sometimes we want to jam everything we know into something that doesn't always serve people the best. It serves your ego. But a lot of times it's more about like what's going to serve people the best, and doing the whole project and writing the book and doing stuff through that lens, and just realizing that like, if you do it right, it'll change people's lives. And like, that's the mission going into the book. Like, you look at it differently, and it's really, really cool. So, yeah.
Yay! Thank you so much for spending time with us. I know you're a busy, busy man, and I know that you've got stuff to do and places to be, but thanks so much again. I love working with you. I love your books. I'm so proud of your books. I mean, I really, really am. And I love the fact that I got to learn all the cool stuff first, which is better.
Grateful for your help. Like, if it wasn't for you, then never would have happened. And so grateful for your effort and your work and your sacrifice, because I know that it was not a small project, and just grateful for your sacrifice as well, and making it these dreams become realities.
Awesome. And I totally want a ticket to the infomercial, because like,
All right.
Because that'll be fun. All right, everybody. Until soon. Bye-bye for now.